Good evening and welcome to tonight's edition of The Probe. Here on the Joy News channel, we're on Joy 99.7 FM. We're on myjoyonline.com and all our social media platforms. Well, tonight we are getting to unpack all the issues surrounding the collation of 9 results, or the constituency results. At least we know the outcome of 7 of them, with 2 outstanding as we speak. That's Tanko-Computer and Ablekuma North. There have been a lot of drama surrounding this collation and re-collation, I should say. And of course, tonight we get to unpack it all right here on The Probe on the Joy News channel. We know about the Tema Central situation, the Nsawama Dredri. We know the Okaikwe Central. We know the Ahafwano Southwest, Obuasi East, Ahafwano North, and then of course Techiman South. And my 2 colleagues who've been around this whole collation and re-collation, of course, we know that James Afenyo has been at the forefront of this whole collation and what happened yesterday also. Maxwell was with him at the EC regional headquarters. They are joining me tonight so that we get to take a look at what happened, how it happened and how it ended. As we speak, we don't know what the EC's decision will be on the Tanko-Computer and of course Ablekuma North, but we know that there are some Thanksgivings that will be held maybe between today and tomorrow, but it remains to be seen what exactly will happen. So tonight on The Probe, we are getting to take a look at all this situation right here. And James Afenyo and Maxwell are with me. I must also say that thankfully we have in the studio as well the Deputy Director of IT and Elections for the NDC, Dr. Tanko-Computer. There are some concerns about that order by the court, and then also some injunction that we're hoping should have been adhered to that did not happen. So all these and more tonight we'll be taking a look at. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining me in the studios. We're hoping to be getting ready for Christmas, but it does look like after the election there's a lot of drama that we have to definitely take a look at. Dr. Tanko, how has it been?
Quite hectic. Well, we are preparing for governance. I mean, in the next few days, not weeks, just days. Yeah. We will be sworn into office, and then that is why we are protecting the seats that we want. We just want to be sure that what the Ghanaian people have voted for are the right persons who should represent them in Parliament, not just somebody parochial interest. That is what we are doing. I mean,
at the last count, how many seats do you have now, the NDC? You'd say?
Well, without the challenge areas, I mean, we have 182 seats, I mean, which were officially declared, devoid of these 9 constituencies. Have
you taken the 7 out? Because all these 7 have been now declared in favor of the NPP.
That's why I said we did not add the 9 constituencies.
Yeah, okay.
We took them away.
Okay.
But if you look at the rest of the constituencies, if you look at the distribution, we got 182 solid, undisturbed. Okay. I mean, that one is there, it's in our basket. And then we are now reaching out for the 9 areas to make sure that we can fetch more, I mean, and add up to our 182.
You cannot still look for the 9 because re-collation has been done. The only 2 outstanding now is Tanko-Computer and Ablekuma North, or you don't regard what
In fact, we don't regard it. We disregard it completely. That's what I told them yesterday when I got to the collation center and addressed the media. I informed them in front of even the Director of Election and all their officers where they say whatever they are doing, they say charade. We are not going to accept it. We are not going to respect anything coming out from that place. Okay. It was a complete charade, and we are not going to respect it. We have our other plans in place. We will make sure that the original declarations will maintain until otherwise. For now, whatever they did there was completely illegal.
Okay, let's take a look at what happened so that my colleagues can at least tell us the story in terms of what they witnessed at the election collation center. James, you know, did it from the Tesano police station and now was transferred, I should say, to the EC headquarters.
In fact, I started from the EC headquarters.
Okay, and then went back?
The Accra Regional Collation Center. And then I went to Tesano and back to where I began.
You've been around. I can see that you've even lost weight in the process. Well, but thankfully we have our incoming presidential affairs correspondent also with us in the studios. And Maxwell, you witnessed it outside. Let's talk about yesterday's exercise. At least there was a lot of talk ahead of it. We were told about some 5,000 deployment that was going to be done. That internal memo we saw. So you were outside. Tell us the story from outside, what you saw.
Well, it all started on Friday night when the National Election Security Task Force held a press conference addressed by the Police Director of Public Affairs, ACP Grace Akrofi-Ansah, when she talked about the deployment and announcement. And then later we saw that leaked memo, and it all gave us a sense of what is likely going to happen. And then on social media, we saw flyers on social media. The NDC one, Greater Accra Youth Wing, it said what? Occupy Re-collation Center, Action Day, hashtag Action Day, anticipate. And then we saw the NPP one, take over Collation Center, watch out. You know, so it gave us a sense of what to expect. And then that leaked memo also came in with the police deploying 5,085 men. We said, no, we had to be there to observe whatever that is going to happen. So I remember very early in the morning, I got here with my press jacket and then my helmet, because if these two youth groups are saying that are going to meet there at the EC's collation offices, then regional offices, then you have to expect some action. But we were pleasantly surprised when we got there on the ground. The number of policemen that we saw outnumbered those around, I mean, from the beginning of the process to the end of the process. In fact, the supporters, we didn't even see any of the supporters around. Okay. In fact, those who came around, I would describe them as bystanders, because many of them, in fact, all of them were not in party colors. Yeah, okay. Those we saw were just bystanders who said they were actually surprised by the number of policemen who were gathered at the EC's regional offices. So they just came to watch what was, was going on. So from morning till sometime around 5 p.m. When the collation process ended, the joint team of police, military, immigration, fire service, was stationed there throughout the process. And they had multiple layers of checkpoints. If you did not have the special press accreditation, we are allowed access to the EC Collation Center. And a number of times we saw even party executives, constituency executives, who were denied access because they didn't have the special tag. And they had to take the intervention of the EC officials in there to come and get them, inside the Collation Center. Many of them quite peeved about the situation, but they were calm when they were allowed, access. So there were multiple layers of crash barriers, and all of them you had security personnel stationed behind them, all of them in fully crowd control gear. Okay. There were 2 water cannons strategically positioned, also on standby.
In anticipation for the party supporters who would have thrown there.
Exactly. Honestly, I've never seen any heavy security deployments like that in recent times. I've covered a lot of demonstrations. Yes. Even for the protests that I've covered, I didn't see this number of joint security personnel all stationed at one point with one common purpose. Yeah, and like you can see, those military armored vehicles patrolling the street. That's the street right in front of the EC regional office, constantly patrolling that street. Yeah, we had sirens also blaring. Some police officers on motorbikes from the National Patrol Department. Quite a number of them also. Yeah, you can see them there. So it was quite a spectacle, a theater, but the audience didn't show up for what was expected.
That's interesting. Yeah. But it looks like there was action inside the collation center itself. At least Maxwell didn't get to report on all the excitement outside, but he got to engage also with some party supporters. The parliamentary candidates, amongst others. There have been some press conferences also by Ablikuma North Constituency parliamentary candidates for the NDC. We'll talk about it briefly, Maxwell, so I'll let you off. But James, you witnessed all the action inside the collation center. We've heard the NDC say they do not recognize anything that happened yesterday, which Dr. Tanko will tell us more about shortly. But let's talk about what transpired inside yesterday.
So we got inside, my camera and myself, and then we had to come out to get a special accreditation. Then we went back. We got in there at about 15 past 8 a.m., hoping that a lot would have started So when we got inside, I went straight to the collation room that was used the initial time. And then the doors were locked. Nothing seemed to be happening. So I came back, asked a few people on the compound as to where the collation is happening. And I was told that it to be happening at the IPAC room. So I found my way back there. It was still locked. But a lot of people are not giving out information as to what is happening, when the collation will start and all of that. So I had to call a few party executives that I know to know if they are around where it is happening. It was at that point that I had the information from the NDC. You know, Maxwell talks about a release calling party supporters to be on the ground. Yeah. Then I had the information from the NDC that they are not interested in the process, and so they will not be part of it for the day, and so they are not monitoring. So at about 9 a.m., then I saw the EC official vehicles coming in from the various constituencies across the country, because the returning officers are supposed to be there from all of these constituencies to actually do the re-collation and then the declaration. And so I met a few of them that I met earlier. We exchanged pleasantry, and then they told me that, oh, it will be happening then. So they are looking for the key to open the door. Then we went in, and then I realized that, so the initial collation room that was used, they set up 7 tables to collate 7 constituencies. Okay. And then the IPAC room had 2 constituency collation centers. So the IPAC room had Tema Central, as well as Obuasi East constituency. Okay. So Obuasi East, as at 10:30, 10:45, they had the first declaration of the day. And so the communication was that for them, the coalition had ended. The only thing that was left to be done at Obuasi in the Ashanti region before the chaos started was the declaration. And so they went ahead and then declared that for the NPP candidates. Then we came back to the initial room. So we are now switching between 2 coalition rooms. Okay. So we came back, and then the coalition started there. Then we had the wings that Tema Central, there's a problem there. So we went there to meet Roxy Nelson Dapamikpo. You see him on your screen there, having some heated conversation actually with the EC director for Tema Central Metropolis. His position was that the court order is that you have to recollate all of the polling stations in the constituency. But the EC director insists that they were left with only 2 polling stations to deal with. And so they are going ahead to deal with only those 2 polling stations.
I'm interested in hearing what transpired. Maybe
exactly what transpired. When we come back, then I'll tell you
yes, please.
What the rest of the story.
We are not doing it, Mr. Afenyo-Markin. We are not doing it. Do it afresh. If you do it afresh, we are not continuing. The process, what happened was an illegality. So do it afresh. So we will not be part of this process. If you want to continue to buy yourself, we will not be part of this process. Thank you very much. And Mr. Brobe, I'm putting you on notice. The court didn't say that go and start from where you left off. You didn't leave anything off. The court said the process was irregular. So stand upright. You are not the returning officer. Stop interfering in this process. Stop interfering in this process. You are a very corrupt man. You be having a conversation with NPP people. This will not do. Do whatever you want. Yes. They have decided to do whatever they want, even though the court has given clear directives. The court says recollate. We didn't use that phrase. The court language said recollate. To recollate means retabulate. You want to tabulate from where you left off. What did you leave off? You claim, you petition that the process was bad. So the whole process should be annulled.
What action are you taking on this?
I am leaving the process because now he's deciding the process according to his whims and caprices. He doesn't want to obey the law.
If a candidate emerges out of this, would you accept it as a party?
Why would this be acceptable to me?
Even if the NDC's candidate.
Why would this be acceptable to me? What is bad? Ex nihilo fix. You can't put something on nothing and expect it to stand. You understand?
James, that's when Roxy Nelson Dapamikpo left the EC office.
Exactly. So he actually stormed out of the place together with Ebi Bright, who is the NDC candidate, made me understand that he is there as her counsel for the day. And so the two of them stormed out of the process, and then they had to continue. Then when we came back, the returning officer, you heard him mention Mr. Brobe. Brobe actually is the returning officer.
For Tema Central.
For Tema Central.
Okay.
Then he also abandoned the process. He says that if the NDC and the other political parties will not come to the table with their pink sheet and be part of the process, he's not going to continue the process, because initially he's had threats on his life as well as his family going ahead to do the coalition without the parties in Tema Central, and so he's not going to budge to continue. There was a long conversation between him and Dr. Sribo to insisting that he continue so that they finish this and then move on, but he insisted he will not do it. So he had to take a deputy returning officer to take over the process, continue, end it, and then it was eventually declared in the name of the NPP.
Okay, because we know that
Exactly.
legally they can still go ahead with the process in the absence of the NDC.
Exactly.
That's
but for
explanation
him
that we
personally,
give.
he said he will not continue until they came. And that same scenario played with Okaikwe and Ablekuma North, which also didn't end, because the returning officer also insists that he will not proceed until the NDC and the other parties come to the table. And so he also held a separate press conference. That's what is on your screen now. We can listen to him insisting that all parties must be present.
Okay.
62 outstanding police stations, 25 of them NPP has tendered in. NDC must also bring their pin sheet for us to confirm those 25. If we are able to do those 25, we will left with 37. As it stands now, we are left with the 62 polling stations not collated.
Are you finishing and declaring today?
No, I'm not declaring today. I'm referring everything to the commission for the commission to take its own decision. I'm done with my work because I cannot continue with this re-collation again.
And that's how come we have Ablekuma North outstanding, and that's the returning officer. And we are still yet to hear from the EC on this, but that's not the only outstanding. We know about the Dom Kwabenya as well. How did that also become outstanding?
Dom Kwabenya was left with, there were 6 polling stations which are in contention. It was dealt with, remaining 3 that were supposed to be dealt with. There were issues of overvoting in some of them. And so the parties need to come together to take a collective decision whether they will abandon that and then move on with it. And so the NDC was absent. The NPP insisted that they go ahead with their digital pink sheets, but a consensus was not reached, and so that has also to be abandoned for the Electoral Commission to take a final decision on. That's how come Dom Kwabenya was also not declared on the day.
Well, you had some interactions also with the candidates and some of the representatives there. But let me wrap up with Maxwell Agbagba on what he saw outside and his interaction. And I see that Dr. Tanko is itching to come in at this point. Let me finish with the reporters. So I come to you on this briefly. Agbagba, you then interacted with a few. Let's do your interactions you had outside and then today's press conference, and I can let you off.
Yeah, so even before the returning officer spoke to James on the Ablekuma North situation and the Dom Kwabenya situation, the NDC parliamentary candidate for Ablekuma North, Irabna Oben, had stormed out of the coalition center. She was very livid and said that she cannot be part of the illegality, in her own words, the legality that was happening there. So that's the press conference that happened today. And at this press conference, she urged the judiciary to maintain their independence in adjudicating matters stemming from the parliamentary elections.
The returning officer and his team also flagged 3 pink sheets that the NPP had brought in for collation. They were suspicious pink sheets that the EC flagged, even before their own dubious whatever, that illegality that was ongoing. And so this whole process of recollating, recollation, redeclare, I don't know whether the NPP, aided by the chairperson of the EC, is trying to still run a double-track system in Parliament. I'm wondering if they are trying to run a double-track system in Parliament, but this will not work. So let us respect our own electoral laws. Let us respect the will of the people. Let us respect, lay down procedures and acceptable practices so that we can have some peace of mind to go about our daily lives and affairs. Politics is not the end of the world. I mean, going into a contest, I'm sure every mature person will go into a contest with a win attitude. But then you should make room if it doesn't go as expected too. But in the case of Ablekuma North and the NPP, it's beginning to look like an insult to the conscience of the people of Ablekuma North. As saying, if it's not NPP, then it cannot be any other political party. And we know that the biggest opposition party is the NDC. And in this case, the NDC in Ablekuma North, for the first time in 28 years, has won the seat here.
So that's Irab Norbing. I must say that this is my constituency.
Oh.
Yes, Ablekuma North. That's my constituency. So as it stands now, I don't have an MP. We are still waiting.
I also didn't know Zaneto was my MP until the special voting.
Oh, Asa, you don't know your MPs, they say. Well, so that's that press conference that was held just today.
Just today, this afternoon.
Okay.
Yes, in the Ablekuma North constituency. A lot of the supporters were also very livid, still livid. They're saying that they know that they won the election. And they were declared on the 9th December as the victors of the election. And that the EC should stick to that. And they will not take anything aside from that declaration that was made on the 9th December.
Okay. I must say that we've made contact to the Electoral Commission on these two outstanding constituencies, and then also the concerns that have been raised by the NDC so far about the process that went on yesterday. We are yet to get an official reaction from them, and when we do, we will let you know what exactly is going to happen with Dom Kwabinya and Ablekuma North, and I'm sure that the NDC is aware of what exactly will happen in the next step. Maxwell will have to take leave of us at this point, and I wrap up with James on this. You know that our presidential affairs correspondent has to go. He has other issues that he has to take care of. So we'll have to let Maxwell go. But James, let's wrap up. Yeah. You interacted with some of the parliamentary candidates that were present yesterday as well. Let's talk about it briefly and then wrap up on that.
Well, for those in the NPP, for instance, someone like Baba Sadiq, who was earlier declared as a candidate for Kaikwe Central, he was upset. He was disappointed in the process, alleges that there have been some change of figures on the EC's master pink sheet that they presented in the course of the day, different from the duplicates they had from the polling stations. And so it's calling for a national probe into this particular Re-collation that happened yesterday for a final decision on it. As far as he's concerned, he's going to be on the floor of Parliament on the 7th, at the early hours of the 7th of this January for the inauguration process. He will be in Parliament? Yes, that's what he tells me.
Let's listen to him.
And said, look, we need to find a way to deal with this particular problem because it's a problem. It is criminal. And what we've said to them is that the crime scene that is currently happening at the EC, we cannot continue to support it. This is wrong. This is criminal. It requires a full-scale investigation, and people need to be prosecuted for quickening of the numbers. We cannot continuously sit in this country and allow the NPP and the EC and the police to come to create a collusion and continue to create the crime scene that they've created. This is not acceptable, and we are not, as a Kaikwe Central, going to accept it. No, this is not acceptable. So the point is that in this particular instance, we are standing by the initial declaration that has been made. Eventually, on December 6th, we'll see how we proceed with these things.
You go to Parliament for...
Of course, and for us, we duly believe from the PCs and all the coalition that we've done that we've won the election.
So that's Baba Sadiq, the parliamentary candidate for Okaikwe Central, was earlier declared as the winner of that poll in that constituency.
In fact, it was
after the
Re-collation in the same room that the new candidate has been declared now, a week later.
The same room?
Yeah, the same coalition.
But what did they say were the circumstances that changed, that led to this?
So for his constituency, they were left with, I think, some over 31 polling stations to be dealt with on the day of the initial Re-collation. And so they declared him without those 31 polling stations. And so now the EC says they've added those 31 polling stations, which eventually, according to them, change the figures in favor of the NPP.
Was Patrick Bouama there yesterday?
Yes, he was there.
Okay. Well, I know that you've been interacting also with now the majority leader, incoming minority leader, Alexander Afenyo-Markin, on this. What has he been telling you?
He was, as you would expect, very happy that he's been able to lead the process to secure 7 more seats for his party in Parliament. And so just urging the NDC to enjoy the majority they have now and move into the future just like they also did. And then maybe in the next elections, they will also fight and come back.
Okay.
I have for North North, I have for North Southwest, Obuasi East, Nsawam Aduejiri, Techiman South, and Tema Central. So how many have we counted so far?
7.
We've counted 7. It's not about 7. 7, an absolute number. So all we can say is that glory to God. Democracy and rule of law require patience, resilience, determination. As a nation, we've come far, and I don't think that allowing violence and chaos will solve our problem. My joy is that both parties took matters up in court. The court has ruled, and the constitutional body is doing its work. Let's not overstretch the pillars of democracy through unlawful conduct. Let all of us conduct ourselves peacefully. For me, Dr. Bawumia has set a positive pace for all of us, the political class. The first time in the history of Ghana's elections that a presidential candidate has conceded long before the official declaration. We've never seen this in our history. So for me, that is one thing that we should all emulate. All these things about leading mob to attack vigilantes, attacking collation centers, insulting people and all that, it won't help us as a country. Sometimes, depending on how it goes, somebody will be happy with it. But you know, with time, it may catch up with you yourself who is benefiting from it today. So I would want to urge my colleagues in the NDC. We are all one family. We are a family. In Parliament, we don't fight. We all debate on issues. When we finish, we go and sit at the coffee area, eat together. Sometimes I wish the cameras would come and capture us there, where we buy food for one another, we eat together. We don't even find out whose food it is. Perhaps Ghanaians don't know that as a political class, we are one. But at the same time, we should not create a certain impression to our followers that would lead them to be lawless. So let us all accept the process, encourage the electoral body to do its work, so that at the end of the day, democracy will win. There are times that we are not happy with certain decisions in Parliament, but that is democracy. Mr. Speaker makes determination. You would have to accept. If you disagree, you express it and you move on. So I would congratulate all my 7 colleagues who have won and wish them well. We are going to meet in Parliament. We are now in opposition. We had 82 seats previously declared officially. These 7 adding to make us 89.
So that's Alexander Afenyo-Markin interacting. So now the key question remains for the 2 outstanding constituencies, Dom Kwabinya and Ablekuma North. I'm sure before you left the EC's regional head office or regional office, you tried to find out from the EC what exactly will happen with the 2 constituencies. What did they say?
So the Director of Electoral Services for the EC, Benjamin Banobio, indicates that they would refer the matter to the Electoral Commission's management to take a final decision on that. But he did not put any timeline on it as to whether it will be within this week or how long that will take to arrive at.
Okay, and that's something we've been finding out also from the EC on this. We are yet to here what exactly will happen when it comes to that. But I'm sure that in the course of the week we'll get to know. We are in the Christmas week, but definitely we need to know what happens with Dom Kwabinya in Ablekuma North, because we've been watching and we know that there are some Thanksgivings that are scheduled, at least with Dom Kwabinya and also for Ablekuma North. But these are and more are issues that we are taking a look at. James Aveji, thank you so much. And I know you have work ahead, even though it's Christmas. We are looking out for the other two and what the reactions have been. Also, earlier, my colleague Maxwell Agbugba was with us, also monitored events from outside. And Dr. Tanko-Computer, Deputy Director of Elections and IT, is my guest in the studios as well. We'll be getting his reaction now that we've painted the entire picture of what transpired yesterday, in fact, in lead up to this re-collation, the declarations earlier, and the re-collation yesterday, and what exactly is going to happen going forward. I think it's a good time to take a quick breather. When we return, we'll get talking with Dr. Tanko-Computer. Please do stay. This is The Probe. This is The Probe on the Joy News channel. We are your election headquarters, and we're live on the Joy News channel. We're on Joy 99.7 FM, all our social media platforms. We've been taking a look at the dramatic turn of events after the 2024 polls in December. And of course, the re-collation that has happened with 9 constituencies, with 2 outstanding as we speak. As it stands now, Tema Central in Sawama Dwejuri, Okaikwe Central, Ahafo Southwest, Obuasi East, we have Ahafo North, and then Techiman South, all going to the NPP, even though we have Tema Central and Okaikwe Central, all like earlier was declared in favor of the NDC. We know about Dom Kwabinya and Ablekuma North now outstanding. These 2 constituencies were also declared in favor of the NDC earlier, but after re-collation, and there were issues in court amongst others, and then there was a re-collation yesterday. My colleagues have been taking us through all that, unpacking all the issues surrounding these constituencies, with 2 outstanding now. Dr. Tanko-Computer, Deputy Director of Elections and IT, has been my guest in the studio, has been listening through all the conversations I've had with my colleagues, because they were not there yesterday and they insist they do not recognize what happened yesterday. But listening now, Doc, to my colleagues walk you through events yesterday in the lead up to it, at least you met them whilst you've been with them at some point during the re-collation. Do you now accept what happened yesterday, or it remains unchanged, the position?
MFA, our position is still unchanged. In fact, I went there yesterday to address the media in front of the charade that was going on, and made the whole world to understand that whatever they were doing there was just a concert party. The NDC was not going to respect whatever was coming out of the place. It was a complete illegality. In fact, a well-orchestrated plan between an MPP group and some, in fact, I don't want to use the word crooked Electoral Commission officials, but clearly you could see that these were planned thing between MPP and Electoral Commission to hoodwink Ghanaians to believing that they were doing a right thing. I'll demonstrate to you yesterday about this Tema Central issue. You know, the gentleman, your reporter, mentioned that when in fact, the returning officer, you know, the process of recruiting a returning officer is very clear in the CI 127. Under Regulation 2, that's where you see the appointment of returning officer. And when a person is so appointed, he has to appear before a judge, swear an oath, or an official of a court before he takes up the job. The CI has not made room for any deputy returning officer. There's nothing like that. What the CI talks about is an assistant. The commission may appoint an assistant to assist the returning officer. Clearly, they envisage that a returning officer is the one who is in charge of doing the work of a parliamentary election. In fact, they declare parliamentary elections. The commission, in fact, Madam Jean Mensah has no business in parliamentary election because that's not her jurisdiction. Her jurisdiction is presidential election. So these returning officers, they did their job. They had to go through Regulation 43 of CI 127 to do the collation. The procedure is spelled out there. And when they finish, then they send the 1B, which is the writ, back to the commission for them to gazette. Now, some of them did their job. They did declarations. Then Madam Jean Mensah, over the blue, with the commissioner said they were not going to respect it because to them, they believed that the procedure was not properly followed.
Because they had reports from some of the returning officers
were attacked and
exactly were forced to actually do these declarations.
And we said, this one doesn't lie in the mouth of Madam Jean Mensah. She doesn't have that powers. Anything that you want to talk, you refer to the right laws. And if you take a PNDC law 284, Section 20 of it, it talks about this thing Madam Jean Mensah is talking of. And that one lies in the bosom of the High Court judge to determine it. In terms of vandalism or coercing people or bribing electoral officers to do this. If you have evidence like that, you go to court. It's spelled out under PNDC law 284. So we refer to all this matter and say, look, in 2020, Madam Jean Mensah, when the similar thing happened at Techima South, where a lot of people were even killed, there were, look, a lot of military men and policemen were around the returning officer while he was forcing to do the declaration. So in the midst of that declaration, we thought it wasn't proper. So we wrote to Madam Jean Mensah in 2020 requesting that they should do a re-collation of the process because we felt that that collation was not properly done. She wrote back to us indicating that after declaration, they cannot do re-collation. We have the documents. So when we filed the case at High Court, we attached her letter, her 2020 letter to the writ, and attached video footages of the declarations so made by these returning officers as evidence. Interestingly enough, MFA, the respondents were electoral commission. They didn't file response to our writ. They didn't file. They didn't even enter response.
But you mentioned that they had received...
They received the writ, all right.
Okay.
But you see, when you file a writ and then serve this thing, the respondent must respond.
Exactly.
And then to either say that what you have put in there is not correct, these are the facts and all that. So we're expecting them to come clean, to say that, well, these are the reason why we are saying that we won't uphold the declaration so made. Okay, but they didn't. They didn't file.
As at the time. As we speak now, you don't know if that response has been put in or not.
No, they didn't. Okay. I said we went to court.
Okay.
Now, interestingly enough, we filed about 4 days before the NPP filed a writ of mandamus. And this one was not targeted, they were rather targeting Electoral Commission, asking that the Electoral Commission should continue the re-collation process. And so because we're not party to it, we couldn't respond. Now, when we went to court, and they filed the same 2 courts for one judge to sit on it. So interesting, something happened at the High Court. Well, I was in the High Court. The judge decided to rather listen to the NPP writ of mandamus without looking at ours. So we raised objections.
But that was the case before them. Was your case before them?
Our cause was before them.
Okay.
So we're asking that, why can't you consolidate? Because whatever decision you are going to take will affect our decision. So why can't you consolidate it together and just make a determination and say he won't listen to that. He just wants to take a decision on their mandamus and rule for them. Because we're not party, we couldn't come in.
But that lies with the judge. You cannot determine that. You cannot decide that.
The thing is that it's a trial knowledge. Because the case that they were asking for is the same thing that we're saying. We don't want re-collation. You cannot re-collate. This is our evidence. Somebody came in the back door through mandamus.
The lawyers will tell you that amicus had to be filed amongst
others. Of course,
but that
because
was not done.
We believe that it was just an ambush tactic.
Okay.
But clearly, our lawyers did very well. Tried it. The man ruled that they should go ahead. The IGP should provide them security to go and do the re-collation. Okay. Then we said, now then here is. Because we also have a case with you. Then now he has to listen to us again. That's why I say it was so funny on that day. Was he coming back to say that the first ruling I gave, I'm going to depart from it and come in another one? So we knew that we're in a very tortuous waters. And so, but we made our clearly asking that play the videos, listen, read Madam Jean Mensah's letter, take a decision based on this thing. The judge wouldn't listen. He upheld and said no. He believed that the declarations were tainted with fraud. And we said, where did you get the fraud from? Who gave you the evidence of fraud? Because the people who were filed a thing against you, they have not given any response. So where did you get the fraud from? That was the basis of which we rushed to Supreme Court to file a stay of execution, and then another process, so that the Supreme Court would have a hearing of it. And it's a trial knowledge in law that anytime you file a process of that nature in Supreme Court, it has to stay for 7 days, so that they can come and look at it. Otherwise, I'll lose that privilege in law that I'm so, because any decision taken, the orders so given, it will affect me. Then all of a sudden, we had the Electoral Commission calling our officers to come, that they are going to do re-collation. We say, you can't do that. We have served IGP. We have served the Electoral Commission with this writ. They were properly served. So why are you going to do this? So in the morning, some of our officers were not aware of this. So they went. That's why you saw Bawa Sadiq and then others were at the place. So it was becoming...
The previous night, we had seen the statements, at least from your General Secretary, amongst others, asking party supporters to mass up, at least from both sides. We had you're on social media and some telling party supporters to mass up at the Coalition Center.
Actually, our General Secretary didn't issue any statement.
Deputy General Secretary.
Yes. In fact, what he was saying is that clearly that thing had not come to their knowledge about this procedure we're doing, because we're in court with the lawyers and all that. And so when we later on informed him that we had filed a process, and this is what we're going to run, that's why they backed up and backed down and said, no. Then there was no need for anybody to mass up that place. Because it came to their attention that, look, this process was ongoing.
But what were they massing up there for really? We've been trying to understand. When you say party supporters should mass up at a coalition center, for instance, what exactly will be the role of the party supporters when they mass up there?
You see, they are there to give moral support.
What kind of moral support will they give?
Coalition is supposed to be a public event. It's
but
not
it
a secret event.
Inside in the office.
You see, because we just want a conducive place, that's why it's supposed to be a public distance. It's just like how we voted at the polling station. They count the vote, we are counting along with it. Okay, and then they put the figures together. We are all standing there.
And if they are not there, you are there. The leadership of the party, you are there. The parliamentary candidates are in there witnessing the event. What exactly do you want the party supporters to gather there to do? To cause chaos?
Not
what exactly
chaos,
are you
That's what I'm saying, to give moral support. In fact, the law doesn't debar them from coming.
It doesn't, see, but we've seen what happens.
It's a moral support. Now, MFA, interestingly enough, yesterday, at that place, when I stormed there, some incident happened and I went there. Tema Centra, the gentleman they asked to come and do this thing. This, you see, any time I talk about this electoral commission, people don't understand. The NPP, especially Nanadu, they have destroyed the Electoral Commission of Ghana.
How?
Seriously. You don't appoint party hardcore members into a commission. When you do that, you are destroying the very moral fiber of the commission. Because we are not going to respect that commission. I cannot be crossing fire with somebody on policies, on issues about governance. He's on the far right. I am center left. Okay, we know each other. And all of a sudden, that person is going to preside over an election. What kind of decision is he going to come from?
But really, they've told you how they cannot interfere
they cannot,
with
you
the
saw
process.
It happened yesterday. When the returning officer refused to continue the process in Tema Center, do you know the person they went and brought? Francis Chum. Francis Chum is a dying-wool MPP, everybody knows. Just go and Google this Facebook and check his page and see his writings. They quickly brought him to come and do the declaration. At just that moment, yesterday in the morning. So at which point was he appointed as a returning officer?
So the basis is just his Facebook page.
I am saying that what kind of intelligence work did they do, or the background of that gentleman before he was brought in as a returning officer to replace somebody just that morning? Because the returning officer says he was not going to do the work because of the issues that he have. They brought this MPP man.
The same returning officer that had that altercation with Roxanne Nelson, the Palmer that we saw earlier?
No, that was a district director of electoral commission.
Okay.
But he is not the one to do the collation.
Okay.
It is rather the returning officer.
Exactly.
The returning officer had issues and said he wanted the two parties to sit and then they both look at it because he wanted to authenticate the pink sheets very well. The one before they do it. This was not coming. And he said, if this thing doesn't happen, I'm not going to continue the process. Then the commission quickly brought in this Francis Chum that come and replace him. We are appointing you. Do the work. hardcore NPP
These
person.
are claims that I cannot.
No, I am showing you. I'm just saying, Francis. I am giving you that.
Yes.
Look, just go to Facebook and type in Francis Chum. You will see him, everything about
But
him.
you know that there are a lot of Francis Chums.
I can
really,
give you. I will forward this to you. I will forward
okay.
this to you,
well,
and you see. That is one. Okaikwe Central. The same thing happened. An officer was appointed in the morning as a returning officer.
But you saw what happened with the declaration in Okaikwe Central, the day that Baba Sadiq was declared as winner. You saw the circumstances under which that electoral officer was declaring the winner that day. Virtually, words being put in his mouth by Sam George and the rest of the team that were there. At least you saw that. Was that okay?
MFR. See, these things that we are talking about. The gentleman did his job.
He did his job.
And
he wasn't under duress.
Oh, but there were policemen around there. You saw policemen over there. There were policemen standing on there. So do you see that the policemen were being overpowered and allowed these things we are talking about?
But did you see that? Did you see the declaration yourself?
I didn't see any duress in the face of the gentleman when he was doing the declaration.
Okay.
Don't forget, it was low some 31. Those 31 pink sheets that they asked that they should come back and relook at it. The gentleman who was going to preside over this, who is the presiding officer, this commission sidestepped him and brought in a fresh person yesterday and said they appointed him yesterday morning. MFI, just look at it, as if we walk on our heads. He was appointed in the morning and asked to do the declaration. So what declaration were you expecting?
But did they don't do the recollation?
I've said, what? Funny enough.
Before the declaration, I'm sure there was recollation that was done.
What did they do? The 31.
Yeah.
You know, you gave us carbon copies. When they started, and Baba Sadiq was there, then they realized that, you know, the original copies stay with the Electoral Commission. Interesting. See why we are saying that these people are so crooked and think that they are wise. Pink sheets don't go into ballot boxes. So when they finish voting, they steal all the materials back.
Yeah.
But they don't put the pink sheet inside. So in an event there is an issue, the pink sheet still stay with the returning officer. So he can go back and do anything that he wants to do and bring it another time.
But it's verifiable. If you check,
that's why the verification
it's tampered with.
It was tampered. They brought in pink sheets, which were different from what was given to the copies.
And no objection was raised.
That's what they object. When they went to it, they say, hey, if you understand, you can go.
Oh.
That's how Baba Sadiq and co stormed up. So it was, we're sitting there.
But that's not the indication our reporters gave us.
That is the problem. If
they were raised concerns, or if they raised concern about pink sheets being tampered with, of course. These are things that would have been brought publicly. I didn't hear my colleagues talk about the fact that things were raised about pink sheets being tampered with.
MFA, you heard Baba Sadiq in his interview saying that master pink sheets. When he was talking about, he's referring to original pink sheets that were being tampered with, were being changed. Because we have carbon copies. Then when I have the carbon, I'm showing the carbon copy. Then you are having different one, completely different.
And he raised it with the EC and he wasn't listened to.
And it wasn't because they brought in somebody in the morning as a returning officer, appointed. They even asked, that where's your appointment letter? The appointment letter was in full. That held it for a very long time. They had to open their phone to read and say, no, bring a hard copy for them to see whether you are actually being appointed this morning. And where did you even swear your oath? Because after appointment, you have to go through the swearing. Nothing of that so happened. They just said, my friend, go ahead and do the declaration. As
a court officer, you've seen the Chief Justice issue that, of course, these courts are supposed to be available within this period to do this work.
So invariably, that morning, Jean Mensah was able to appoint somebody and the person went for the swearing and rushed to the hall to come and declare another. These are the things we are talking about.
These are your claims.
Look,
though.
No, in fact, it was public knowledge. They announced it there, that the gentleman was appointed in the morning. He showed his appointment in a phone. And your media were very much interested in finding all these things. I was monitoring it. Then, when that one was done, then you went to Ashanti region. Very interesting scenario.
The Obuasi East?
Look, the Obuasi East, we'll come back to that. I'm looking at the two Ahafono. The Ahafono Southwest and the Ahafono North.
North, yeah.
Do you know the interesting thing?
What's
the EC, when the thing happened in Ashanti region on the D-Day, you know the security went and vandalized the place. The shooting led to the vandalization of a lot of things. The Electoral Commission publicly said they don't have the pink sheets again because it was destroyed completely. And so now...
That was the ballot papers.
Not ballot papers, it was the pink sheets. Because on the D-Day, that was the pink sheet they were doing. And you can even see that. I'm sure that's why the footage I showed. What happened was that they didn't have these things. Now the NPP said they have scanned copies. And And they brought their scanned copies for the Electoral Commission to now use that to do the declaration. And our people say, how can you rely on this? That is not the best way to go. You cannot do that. Because if you are saying you are relying on scanned copies, that means somebody can also sit in his room and also come out with a scanned copy.
And the NDC doesn't have scanned
because
copies.
Because ours were being destroyed over there.
Okay, yours were destroyed.
Okay, so clearly the understanding was that, look, let's look at it.
But you did collation. You did collation. For which reason, before the end of the 7th of December,
yes,
you knew
the
seats, you knew where
that is why
you had fallen, where you had...
Those were the seats that were winning handsomely.
Okay.
We have our results all right.
Okay.
But you needed a pink sheet to back all these things. Then these people now went and took TANO-SAF summary sheets in Ahafo to come and declare for Ahafo no-SAF West. This is the Electoral Commission we are talking about.
Okay.
TANO-SAF summary sheets. Every constituency has a summary sheet. They went and took some TANO-SAF summary sheet, used pen and cancelled the name TANO-SAF and wrote Ahafo. You see, if I can show it to you. This is the kind of Electoral Commission we are dealing with.
Well, these are things I would want to see and also get some answers from the election. But going forward, really, the concern now, we know about Dom Kwabenya and Ablikumano. These are outstanding. You are saying that the 7 that have been declared in favor of the NPP, these are constituencies, or this whole process you do not recognize. As we speak, the 2 are outstanding, Dom Kwabenya and Ablikumano. Do you have any indication as to what exactly is going to happen so that we talk about what's going to happen on the 7th of January?
We won it fairly. It was left with 3 pink sheets.
Yes.
Now, those 3 pink sheets, the Electoral Commission says they don't have it, that they have soft copies. The NPP says they don't have. We have the 3.
That one you
the
have.
Soft copy. Not soft copy, the carbon copies.
Okay.
No, they will give us carbon copies.
Yes.
So we have it. I've seen it myself. I asked the candidate to bring there, assess it.
And it's in your favor?
We won it. We won the 3 areas.
Okay.
So the Electoral Commissioner for Domi Kwabenya asked for it. Then we gave copies to our organizer to go and give to them. They received the copies. So it came to us as a shock when they announced that they had asked for political parties to bring their copies and they didn't. We gave them.
Okay.
They have the copies. Instead of them to go ahead. Ablekumanov, yes, as they were saying, about 62 polling stations were challenged in terms of the pink sheets when the issues happened. And then we had copies, we have about 27 of that. And then we think that we could come in and cross-check the other 2 so that we could look at, take decision on the 35, the remaining 35. Okay. Now they were forcing the returning officer to go ahead with the collation using scanned copies. Only God knows where they got it. And the man said he won't do it.
That, so he leaves it to the EC.
See,
have we had any indication from the EC as to when these will be done?
Let me take this opportunity to congratulate him. He's one of the bravest returning officers I've ever seen. The kind of pressure they were giving him there, the commissioners with their officers, very crooked officials, forcing this man to declare.
We did not see the commissioners there.
Oh, I'm saying that they were working under directives.
We did not see the
But the director of electoral services was there. Was he not responding to orders from them? Okay. And I'm saying that these people were forcing this gentleman to do declaration. He said he won't do it. I cannot continue this kind of declaration. He even came. Banobia was telling him that, go ahead, you can use the distance and continue the declaration. This commission needs a lot of sanitization because what is going on is not good for our democracy. Okay.
Well, but we are hearing the candidates all saying that they will show up on the 7th of January in Parliament. Is that not going to be another chaotic scene that we are going to be seeing in Parliament? Is that what we want?
MFA, the law is very clear. A returning officer cannot declare somebody winner. And another person will also...
So your candidates still insist that...
They won the team. They were declared winners. And I'm saying that this one is a tribunal. They were declared. How many times do you want to do declaration? You have a returning officer declare somebody. Then another person is appointed...
Is that not encouraging lawlessness at this point? Having all of them showing up in Parliament that day for inauguration?
You know that the most lawless institution in Ghana is this Electoral Commission.
How is that?
Very, very lawless. What they did over there.
Well...
very lawless. And I'm saying that we are not going to respect it. We will take everything humanly possible legally to prevent this illegality that happened yesterday. The NDC is very clear in its mind. And our General Secretary issued a statement on it.
Yes.
to back what we are saying. We are not going to accept
Dr. Tanko, we have to leave it here, and I'm sure this is not the last we're hearing of this matter. We are grateful for your time, and that's it for tonight's edition of The Probe. And I think at this point, we'd like to wish you the best of the season. It's just Christmas next week, or this week, I should say, on Wednesday. Have a good Christmas. Merry Christmas to all of you. I am MF Apau. Have a good evening.